All right, it is now 2:02. We're going to go ahead and get started here. I want to say hello and welcome everybody to today's webinar, QuickBooks Online and Adaptive Insights Integration with DataBlend. My name is Tim Hulbert. I'm account executive here at DataBlend. I'm excited to be kicking things off, talking a little bit about who DataBlend is and what we do. I'm joined today by Director of DataBlend, Peter McIntyre, who will be giving a demo of a QuickBooks to Adaptive Insights integration. And he's going to be showing us just how simple and powerful the integration platform is. Here's today's agenda. I'm going to speak briefly about what DataBlend is and its origins. We're going to show you some of the pre-built integrations that we offer, as well as explain the various other methods we have to integrate. Next, we're going to take a look at QuickBooks Online and Adaptive Insights specifically. We're going to see why DataBlend is a great choice for integrating the two. From there, Peter's going to show you a demo of the interface and guide you through a QuickBooks Online and Adaptive Insights integration workflow. We're going to leave some time at the end for some questions and answers. Feel free to type any questions you have into the box there, and we'll make sure to try and get through anything, get through all the questions. I do want to let everyone know actually before we start, so this is being recorded and there will be a copy provided following the webinar. So let's kick things off here. So who is DataBlend and what do we do? So DataBlend is an integration platform as a service, or an iPaaS. Now, some of you may be asking, all right, what is an iPaaS? And that's a great question. An iPaaS is a tool that allows both on-premise and cloud-based applications to be connected. DataBlend itself is a cloud-based tool. It can be accessed through your web browser. You just go to datablend.com, you enter your login credentials, and you gain access to the user interface. DataBlend was created by our very own VP of Software Development, Adam Kazarin. It was first released in 2015. It was a product in the suite of solutions that were offered by Carlson Management Consulting. Now, Carlson is they're a leading adaptive insights implementation partner. Founder and CEO Ethan Carlson, he recognized that there was a need for integration while they were doing the adaptive insights implementation process. So we got working with Adam and they created this solution and they built DataBlend. So CMC, Carlson Management Consulting, they were acquired by Alight earlier this year. DataBlend was not part of that acquisition. And so as of earlier this year, it's become its own entity. So, what does DataBlend do? Well, businesses, they often need to move large data sets from one system to another, right? So the issue is, how one system structures data. It might not be the same. It often isn't the same as the system that they need to send that data to. So this is where an integration platform like DataBlend comes in. We offer ETL, extract, transform, load. We extract data from one system. We transform that data within DataBlend, and then it gets loaded into another system, structured correctly for that receiving system. There's no hardware, there's no physical software, hardware that's needed to maintain any of this. DataBlend is maintained by our development team, who manages all the updates. So since first being developed, DataBlend has grown from offering integrations between a few core financial systems to offering a comprehensive list of pre-built integrations. So we are system agnostic. And in a couple of slides, we're going to take a look at some of our pre-built connections. All right, so who is DataBlend? Well, we have about 145 customers right now and counting. They are in the small to mid-sized business range. DataBlend is ideal for companies with multiple systems who are looking for a single solution to connect them. So we work closely with CFOs and folks in FP&A, financial planning and analysis, that already have several systems, or maybe they're in the process of implementing new systems that are vital to the daily operation of their business. So often those systems, like I spoke about before, are siloed. They have no way of speaking to each other. And so they want one simple solution to connect those systems. Many of our customers start out with just a simple integration between an ERP like QuickBooks, which we're going to cover today, and they send that data to another system like Adaptive Insights, where they're going to create and build their budgeting and forecasting models that ultimately drive their business decisions. So from there, we have customers who then grow, and maybe they want to integrate a CRM or BI. An example of a company integrating a CRM, often they might be sending opportunity data into their forecast. We work with several nonprofits who need to incorporate donor information, and that's usually managed within their CRM. So these are just a couple examples. The possibilities are really endless, and we can come up with creative ways to meet the needs of your business. So we're going to take a look now at some of our pre-built integrations. So this is just a quick visual of some of those pre-built connections that we have. You see Adaptive there, QuickBooks, which we're going to talk about today. In addition to those, we have Sage Intacct and Workday. Those are pretty popular. We have several customers using DataBlend to integrate Salesforce. Many customers integrate their payroll data with software like Bamboo HR. The list really goes on here. So a question that we often get, you might be asking yourself, is what if I'm interested in integrating a system that you don't have a pre-built connection for? And that is another good question. We're going to answer it on this slide. So how do we integrate? We're not going to get technical here today, because this really is a solution that's built for the business user to manage without having to rely on any IT department. So we're going to talk at a high level about how we integrate. So the pre-built integrations that I showed on the previous slide are built out through an API protocol. And if the system that you want to integrate has an open API, meaning that anyone can access it, then we can make the connection that way. So once that connection is then made, we can then replicate the process quickly. So if you have a system that we do not have a pre-built connection for, we can build it out if it makes sense through an API. If the software's API is not able to be accessed, we do have other options. One option is to use an agent. All an agent is it's the installation of software that's local to where the data resides. So either a database, a file system, and all it's doing is either delivering or capturing data. So when we talk about installing an agent, all we're saying is, you would download this software and then use it to make that connection. This is all done during the initial setup by our implementation team. So nothing that you really have to worry about. Another method of integration that we use is through flat file. File-based integration can include different types of files like CSV, XML, JSON, etc. It does not require connecting directly to a database or OS. So if you're not able to connect your systems to API, we can use this flat file approach. Another use case would be if you're using older legacy systems that don't even allow for API integration, then a flat file would be the way to go there. So this type of file integration, it's done manually. It can be done manually, but we can also automate the file import by pointing it to our DataBlend SFTP server, which can then kick off the integration at a predetermined time, thus making it fully automated. So that's really it with the integrations. We can go through API, a data agent, or flat file, and that really depends on your needs. Okay, so in a minute here, we are going to be taking a look at a QuickBooks Online and Adaptive Insights integration workflow. So I just wanted to note a couple of points on each system before we got started here. I'm sure most of you, if not all, are familiar with Intuit's QuickBooks software. QuickBooks Online is a cloud-based accounting solution, so it can be accessed remotely. It does a ton of things. Tracking expenses, creating invoices, etc. It's a really powerful solution for a small business, especially at its price point. It's plug it in and go. Pretty simple. Allows for simple integrations also between applications, and yeah, I mean, they offer a bunch of templates. It's a great solution. Then we have Adaptive Insights, which is a corporate performance management or CPM solution. It is also cloud-based. It can be accessed from anywhere. What Adaptive does is it allows businesses to plan budgets, actuals, forecasts, etc. It also provides business logic and calculations that help organizations to create custom formulas for their business. So why DataBlend? Why would we use DataBlend to connect these systems? Well, as I've mentioned, it is designed for the business user. It has a simple to use interface. It doesn't require a heavy reliance on your business's IT department. We have several pre-built integrations, which means we're able to have your integration up and running quickly. DataBlend is ideal for integration requirements I've spoken about, and something actually that I haven't mentioned yet is that DataBlend has the unique capability of bi-directional integration. So if you want to move data from Adaptive Insights back to another system, or maybe you want to send data between instances of the same system, DataBlend can do that. So now I'd like to pass it over to Peter, who will be showing us what a QuickBooks Online and Adaptive Insights integration workflow looks like. Peter?
All right, thank you, Tim. All right, so you should be able to see DataBlend now. And basically what I'm showing here to start, this is the home screen of DataBlend. So when you first log into the system, this is what you would see. And basically what you get is you have a favorite section. This is actually a newer feature of DataBlend that allows you to favorite specific elements within the tool. So you have quick access to them right from your home screen. So you can see I have a few different workflows here set as favorites that I can access very easily right from my home screen. There's a history section that shows all of the historical integrations that happened, when they happened, how long they took, and status as well. And you can filter by various statuses up above, whether you want to see all your warnings or your errors or just a few of those options. You have the ability to do that. Down below is a credentials section. This shows all available credentials connections that you've made within DataBlend. And you have the ability to check status of these connections by clicking refresh buttons. And this will tell you if you're still connected to that system or not. If the status does not pass, you'll get a message saying, credentials need to be updated. So these are the main navigation elements from your home screen. There's also a navigation menu that gives you access to every element within DataBlend right from here, whether you want to access your data sources, transformations, workflows, etc. You can schedule workflows right from the schedule section. You can also access your credentials from here. Any scripts, email notifications, and folders all are accessible from here as well. We also have a new search bar up top that allows you to search for anything within DataBlend, as well as a help feature. If you type the word help and hit enter, it'll give you a list of various shortcuts that allow you to navigate the system even easier. So if you want to create a new workflow, simply typing NW into the search bar will bring you to the new workflow wizard screen. And then if you want to search for a particular word, QuickBooks, for example, it'll show you all elements within your DataBlend instance with the word QuickBooks in it. So I'm just going to jump back to the home screen here. So the other areas of your home screen that you can access, so workflows. The concept of a workflow essentially is building an end-to-end integration. So within a workflow, you can have data sources, transformations, scripts, sub-workflows, pretty much any of the elements that you have access to in your sidebar, you can create right within a workflow. So for the example of QuickBooks Online to Adaptive, which we'll look at in just a second, you create data sources to connect both to QuickBooks and Adaptive, pull data from one or the other, transform it, and then push that data to the other one. So this workflows section gives you a list of any workflow that's been built in your tool. And then the logs tab, this gives you a little more detail as to that history. So any of these workflows that ran, if you got some errors, you can click right on the line item, pops open a window, you can see the detailed log. You also have the ability to drill, drill into any of these workflows within your log, and you can see exactly which step in the workflow caused the error in this case. And if you drill into it, you can see the message as to what caused the error. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get to the main event here. I'm going to click into the QuickBooks Online to Adaptive workflow. And this is what a finalized workflow can look like. I won't say will always look like, because they can all look different. The nice thing about an integration platform is you can get creative with it. There's more than one way to integrate data. So what we have here in this workflow, you can see we have a few different color-coded blocks up on the top, and each one represents a step within the workflow. And whenever this workflow runs, whether it's executed manually right from this section here, or if this is running on a schedule, say a nightly schedule, this workflow is going to run in order from left to right. So starting with your QuickBooks Online profit and loss accrual report step, to your adaptive field mapping, to your adaptive pivot, eventually to your adaptive actuals import. We also include an Excel file output at the end of this workflow that gives you the ability to download the data in Excel so you can view it there. You can also access your logs right from the workflow as well. So you can see all of the logs specific to this workflow and not the full log for every workflow that ran in your instance. So I'm going to start with the QuickBooks Online Query Builder. So we've built in DataBlend a UI for building a query. And you can see right within here we have, I've selected a report, in this case, profit and loss detail line item accrual, which basically gets me transaction line items from the accrual profit and loss report within QuickBooks. And after I choose that report, I get a series of fields that I can then pick and choose that I want to add to my query over here on the right. So if I want to add any of these, I can simply double click, add location, memo description. They show up over here on in my display columns and filters, and they also show down below in my column header preview. I'm actually just going to remove these from the query here. So basically what I have set up in this query already is more or less the basics for an adaptive import. We have general ledger account, an amount field, a date field, and a class name field. So these are, this is typically the standard query that you'll pull out of QuickBooks. Though as you can see, based on the other fields you can get, you can either add more of these or, based on, based on what's needed for your adaptive instance, you can add whatever you need. So connecting to QuickBooks is very easy. So we have a button to log in with QuickBooks Online. And if you click this button, it will take you directly into the Intuit login screen. I'm actually already logged into my instance of QuickBooks, so it takes me right to the authorization page. If I wasn't logged in, it would prompt me with a username, password, login. You would just enter your credentials, log in, which then takes you to this screen, and you can just hit connect and says, QuickBooks is giving authorization to DataBlend to make the connection. Brings you back to your credentials section within DataBlend. Auto-populates all these fields needed: access token, token secret, all of the above. And at that point, you're connected. I'm just going to go back to my QuickBooks to Adaptive workflow. So the fact you're connected, that allows you to build your query. Obviously, I already have my query built, but once you're connected, you have access to these fields and these reports, and you can start choosing your fields for query. Now, within your query, you have the ability to filter on any of these fields. Most common is date, which you can see I have date field set up. I'm actually going to remove the parameters I have, and I'm just going to enter in an actual date so that we can preview the data. So there's a populate data preview button that allows you to just get a snippet of the data pulling from QuickBooks, so you can just verify that what you're pulling is what you want. So that's what's shown here. And any of these fields have the ability to have filters created. So account name, maybe you want to rename this to just be called account. You can easily do that. Maybe you only want to pull certain accounts, maybe accounts greater than or equal to account 4000. You have the ability to get creative with your filters right from this screen. So I'm actually I'm just going to refresh because I don't want to save my changes. And what I'm going to do is going back to my date field. So actually it populated back my parameters. So this is actually a newer feature of DataBlend where you can enter in these parameters, start date and end date, instead of actually populate, hard coding the date range that you want to pull right from here. And I'm going to show what this does in just a little bit. This will actually make running these workflows much easier and much easier to do right from either your workflow section or from your favorites on the home screen. Okay, so this was building your data source. That's step one. So step 2, 3, 4, and so on is building your transformations. Now what we have, we have a few different pre-built transformations in here available to you. Field mapping and pivot table are the two showcased in this workflow. We also have the ability to add filters as well. Similar to the filters you saw within the data source, you can add additional filters as a transformation step. So the field mapping transformation, this allows you to line up columns both from your source to your destination. So in this case, QuickBooks Online being my source, these are the columns that we saw within the query builder. And I'm basically just renaming those columns to match up to what they need to be in my destination. This is what adaptive needs to accept in this case. So I'm just renaming account name to be account. I'm actually hard coding the level to be called top level. That's what this little static icon means. I need a split label column. I'm just leaving that empty. And then my date and amount columns stay the same. Now we also have the ability to do some transformations right within each of these fields. So you see this little icon down below with the 1 next to it. If I click on it, you can see we're actually utilizing a remove blanks transformation in this field mapping. And what this does, the remove blanks will do exactly what it says. If there's any blank values in the amount field, it's going to automatically remove those rows, which is pretty handy, you know, in these scenarios, because sometimes if you have blank values, your integration isn't going to work properly. So that's what this one's doing. We also have a few different transformations you can use as well. These are the most popular ones that get used the most. Things like concatenate, fill blanks. So instead of removing blanks, you can actually fill a blank value with something. Flip signs, very common to need to flip signs on certain accounts. You know, especially with importing data to adaptive. You can do find and replace functionality and substring functionality as well. And again, these are the most common transformations that we have, but we have the ability to do more complex transformations as needed through custom scripting as well. So I'm just going to close that window. And you know, once this field mapping is set up, then you can move on to the next step. And in this case, we're doing a pivot table. Now, a pivot table works the same way a pivot table in Excel would work, where basically you can take a set of data and then you can group that data based on certain criteria to get it formatted in the way that you need. Most commonly, we are grouping by date. And the reason we need to do this, especially for Adaptive Insights integrations, is we need to have each month or date column set up as an individual column. So if you're pulling data for an entire year, you need to have a January column, a February column, so on and so forth. And this pivot table allows you to do just that. So you have one date field from QuickBooks, which is coming from our source, and then we're grouping by date, month, year, which will create those individual columns for us. Within the rows, you can select additional columns that you want to have as part of the data. Account level and split label, these are the 3 standard columns that you need. And then the last tab here, the values, this lets you choose your amount column or maybe your debit credit column, whatever it may be. And then you can summarize either by sum or by count. More often than not, you're going to be using the sum function. So the combination of these 2 transformations, field mapping and pivot, this will get the data in the format needed for adaptive. So then the very last step in this workflow, you're essentially just choosing what type of import you want to do. And this is a standard import, you know, to a standard sheet in adaptive. We do have the ability to do modeled sheet, cube sheet, and transaction imports as well. So those are shown here in the drop-down menu. You would then select your version. We're going to a specific QuickBooks Online Actuals version. You can specify whether this is a plan or an Actuals version right here. Allow parallel allows you to, if you have multiple workflows going at the same time, allows them to import at the same time. Otherwise, you know, they would go one by one in a queue. Move completed actuals through. This option allows you to, for forecasting purposes, if you're importing actuals to a month for the first time, it'll push that forecast ahead automatically. And then use mappings most of the time this needs to be checked. This allows you to use any mappings that have been set up within Adaptive. If this is unchecked, that means you are assuming that everything's a one-to-one match between QuickBooks and Adaptive. And then again, the very last step we have is a Excel file output, which once the workflow runs, allows you to see that data in Excel if you want to download an Excel file. So what I'm going to do next, I'm actually going to run this workflow, and just going back to the date parameters that we have set up in here, start date, end date. I'm actually going to run this workflow. Go back to our home screen. I'm going to run the workflow right from here. So what those start date, end date parameters do that have been set up allows me to execute my workflow right from here. And if I click the button, you can see here's my start date and end date parameter names, and I can just enter the values I want to run this for right from within here. Now I have it set to run for a full year already, so I won't change the values, but if you ever needed to change this for, to run 1 month at a time or only a couple months, you can easily just change your values right from here. Now before I run it, I also have within QuickBooks, oh, now it kicked me out. Within QuickBooks, I have a profit and loss report. And this is essentially what I'm going to be pulling out of QuickBooks and then importing to my P&L sheet within Adaptive. So my Adaptive sheet is blank, and what my workflow within DataBlend will do is populate it with everything that I see in my profit and loss report within QuickBooks. So what I'll do, I'm just going to hit the execute button. Now I'm running this for a full year, even though I'm running this through 12/31/19. That means it's going to pull year-to-date information. Today's September 12th, so it's going to pull data up through September 12th if there is any in QuickBooks. And this is a nice way to do it. That way, if you have your integration going on a nightly schedule, it's always going to update with year-to-date information. So if you ever, went back and changed a journal entry for a prior month, it would always get captured because you're running the full year. All right, so I'm going to hit execute here. And when you hit execute, you get a little notification saying the workflow's been kicked off. You can check your notification panel by clicking on this icon up here. And then you get another notification when it's complete. It shows right here. Here's that Excel file out link that you can click. You can also click right on your workflow execution details, which will take you right to the log. And you can see everything completed successfully, so that's always a good sign. So that means we should be able to go into Adaptive and just refresh the page. And now we can see our data. So we actually have some revenue populating. We have some operating expense, and you can see our net income is showing up. So 260 for net income should match our 260 for net income in our report. So that's always good news when you tie out. So again, any changes you make within QuickBooks, say I wanted to change a number here, just bump our revenue up a little bit. Say, I'll make this a big number so we can see it. Save that change, journal entry saved. Now if I go back to DataBlend and just run this workflow one more time, execute. And it runs pretty quickly. Just got to wait a few seconds, and it should populate everything. I'll actually get a little risky, and I'm just going to refresh Adaptive right now and see if we can see that change. Nope, not quite yet. Oh, there it is. I was looking for January. May 2019, 500,000. So it did update. It can happen if you have your workflows scheduled to run, you know, you can schedule them often to get those, you know, as close to real-time updates as you need. So that concludes the demo portion of this. You know, as you can see, it's very easy to create a workflow, especially with QuickBooks to Adaptive. Both two great tools to connect to and integrate with. So I guess I will just kick it back over to Tim for the Q&A portion.
Thanks, Peter. So we do have a couple of questions here. Let me get this. All right. So the first one here, can you do bi-directional integrations with QuickBooks Online?
Yes, so we definitely can. You know, we've done specific things like creating invoices in QuickBooks before. I know we demoed extracting data out of QuickBooks, but you know, getting data into QuickBooks we can do as well. So creating invoices is something we've done in the past, but really anything that the QuickBooks API you know, allows us to do, we can do within DataBlend as well.
Okay. Another one here. Can you also integrate with a local version of QuickBooks?
Yes. So yeah, we specifically showed QuickBooks Online, but yes, we integrate with QuickBooks Desktop as well. It's a little bit of a different setup since it's a local version. It's not a cloud version. Still very easy to connect. It just means installing a configuration file on either on the local machine or on a hosted server. Very easy to do, and yeah, we do a lot of both QuickBooks Online and desktop integrations.
Awesome, thanks. And there's just one more here. Can you integrate any other systems other than what was shown in the pre-built connections slide?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the pre-built connections that were shown, you know, those are the most popular ones that we do connect with. But yeah, we've connected with many others, whether it be, you know, through those different type of connections, whether it's API or data agent or flat file. We have the ability to connect really to anything, and you know, various ways of connecting. So yes, we can connect to many systems.
Awesome. So those were all the questions. On that last one there, I do just want to say, you know, if you are interested in seeing the full list of connections we do, maybe you have a system that you are, you know, trying to integrate data in with, you know, with another system. You know, we'd be happy to take a look, see if we have that pre-built connection, and if not, we can see if it makes sense to make a custom connection for you. But that is all of the questions that we have here. So we will wrap it up a couple of minutes early. Peter, thank you for going through a demo there. I want to thank everybody that joined, and you know, I hope you got some valuable information. Yeah, so thank you for your time, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Thanks.